Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Single Parents Podcast.
The show that is far from traditional.
If you like the show, don't forget to subscribe, share the podcast with a friend, and maybe even rate the show 5 stars on your favorite podcast hosting platform.
Here's a sneak peek for today's episode.
It's so wild to me because I feel like I talk to so many people that are like, I love being pregnant. I love what my body's doing. I feel like so beautiful. I have like the glow. And me, when I was pregnant, I felt like an ogre.
All right, hot SPs. We are here today with a very special guest. She is a mom of 4, one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. And she's somebody who just carried a baby for 9 months and then gave him away. Let's give it up for Kaylee, everybody. What's up, Kaylee? How's it going?
It's going good. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited because as I teased a little bit, you're one of my favorite. You and your husband Jake, some of my favorite people in the whole world. But you've just kind of been on this very exciting and I'm sure chaotic, maybe I'm assuming we're going to hear about it, journey over the last several months. And so I am just looking forward to this time because I just get to catch up with you because through all the craziness, it's just been a minute since we've caught up. So I'm looking forward to it. Jess, I am assuming that you are, but I don't want to speak for you.
No, I'm so ready. I'm ready to be educated.
Yeah, this is even going into it, I didn't know it was all what it was going into it. So I've learned a lot in this 2 years. 2 years it's taken.
Okay.
So it's a lot. It's good. It's fun though. It's great.
Okay. Well, I guess on that topic, I want to have you just tell us a little bit about yourself, like just who is Kaylee? What does she look like on the daily? I want to get into that, but I think you kind of set up a perfect segue into a question I think actually we should probably answer first, and that is when it comes to surrogacy itself. For the people listening, I just don't want to assume people know 100% even what that is. So could you just first, before we get into you, tell us what the heck even is that?
Yeah, so surrogacy is when you carry a fertilized embryo that is not yours, and you create a child for a friend or somebody you don't know or a matching service. And it's not your biological child. It's not your husband's biological child. It is totally the intended parents is 100% their DNA. Sometimes when you have same-sex couples, they will use a donated egg, but other than that, it's their DNA. And you're just the oven in the bun situation.
Just the glorified oven. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good way to think of it.
Very expensive.
We love a good oven. I love a good oven.
But yeah, no, it is very... Some people think that you're the mom. And actually in some countries, you're still legally the parent of the child you give birth to, even though you don't have the same DNA. So it definitely has a lot of intervals of how it works, but the brass tacks is you are not genetically related to the child that you are giving birth to most of the time.
Okay. Like I said, we're going to definitely dive into that more. I know Jess and I have a million questions, but I just wanted to establish that first. But I know you, Kaylee. I love you. But I want the people to fall in love with you just as much as I do. I want Jess to fall in love with you just as much as I do before we give you our 100 questions. So before we get into all that, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what is your family like? Who are you, Kaylee? Who are you?
Well, I am a mom of 4, and then I also have a stepson, so I'm a mom of 5. And so I have littles from ages from 7 to 6 to 5, 3 going on 4, and 1 who just turned 2. I'm married to my husband. We've been married for 3 years now. I am 26. I just became a stay-at-home mom, so I can focus on raising my kiddos. I'm a baker, and I'm basically my kids' 24-hour, 24/7 chauffeur. I am, and I'm just somebody who lives in a normal life who just said, hey, I like being pregnant enough. I could definitely do this for another family. So, but yeah, no, I'm very
Wow.
simple, very
Wait, so
black.
okay, so you like basically popped out a baby every year then. Like you just kept going. And so you said that you love being pregnant?
Yeah, no, I do. It's very easy for me compared to what like, most people would say. For me, it's a very calming process. I love being pregnant. I like how, um, and it's something that I've always bonded with my kids. I never thought I was going to be a mom when I was a teenager, for sure. And then becoming a mom, having that with my kids and just going through the first kicks and the first flutters and the ultrasound and just getting to do something that nobody else gets to do for my children. I created my kids. Nobody else gets to say
Mhm.
I had a hand in anything. I felt it's such a close bond for me and my kids, and now for my little Australian nephew.
It's so wild to me because I feel like I talk to so many people that are like, I love being pregnant. I love what my body's doing. I feel like so beautiful. I have like the glow. And me, when I was pregnant, I felt like an ogre. Like I just felt like I hated being pregnant. Like I just hated gaining weight. I hated how much water retention I had. Like I hated the acne. I hated how I felt. Like I just did not feel like I was doing this beautiful thing. Even though I mean I knew that I was, but like I just didn't feel that way. So I love like hearing your point of view where you're like, oh my God, I feel amazing about it. And I obviously want to have more children, but I know that I hate the process of being pregnant, but I know that like in the end it's worth it. I just wish that I could enjoy the process the way that you're describing it. So for somebody who doesn't love being pregnant, what are some good things that and I'm asking for myself and listeners, but mostly for myself cuz selfish whatever. I want to know what things I should be saying to myself or reminding myself like what are things that I need to be putting in my head thinking about to make me feel like I love being pregnant and I feel so beautiful. Like what should I do? How do I feel better about it?
I think a lot of it too is hormones. Like everybody's hormones are so different, so they make everybody feel a certain way. And like I know for myself, I have a lot of body issues. So when I was gaining weight before you get the cute little baby bump, oh, I would go into like, oh my God, I'm gaining weight. My jeans so fit. And I'm only like 4 weeks pregnant. This shouldn't be happening. And those do come. I don't think anybody who sits here and says that for 24/7, the whole 10 months, I was happy and I was going. I don't think that's true at all. I think a lot of it is a mindset that you have to have. And women have a harder time, because when we're pregnant, we have to deal with the hormones. We have to it's our reality, even though to others we look hormonal, to us this is our reality. And it is really easy to sit in the mirror and start picking and looking and putting on your favorite jeans and realizing, oh, finally now I don't fit into them, and having that fear. But a lot of it was just mental awareness, being able to be like, okay, I know I feel like an ogre today. I'm gonna go take a shower. And then I'm gonna brush my hair and then I'm gonna breathe. And I'm just gonna remember that I am building my child and that we're gonna be cool. Because when my daughter looks like this, when she's pregnant, I'm not gonna think she looks like an ogre. I'm gonna think my baby's making my grandbaby. And I've had
Mhm.
those thoughts where I look at my daughter and I go, oh, I could not imagine telling her what I've told myself when she has like if she has a zit or if she's getting stretch marks in um it's just a lot of it is mental, and it's really easy to get sucked into hormones because they're a lot louder than your inner voice a lot of the time. So that's my biggest advice is just
Yeah.
mentally you have to talk with yourself and you have to check in with yourself. You cannot go through pregnancy without checking on yourself. And it's really easy to forget that you have to take care of you, even though you are taking care of you, but you have to do your check-ins. Really important.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, and having a good support
Absolutely.
system too. My husband never called me one negative word the whole time I was pregnant and always reminded me 24/7 how beautiful I was. That
Yeah.
also too helps, having a good support system, regardless if it's a husband, a best friend, whatever the case, just having a good support system. Definitely had a
Yeah.
couple friends not have good ones, and they tanked a lot in pre-baby blues and post-baby blues. So it's a thing.
Sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to remind yourself to love yourself even though you don't look like yourself. Cause I definitely like sitting here now, I don't feel like I look like this 3 weeks ago when I was pregnant. And I definitely know I didn't look like
Yeah,
this
right.
a week after that I gave birth. And I have photos to prove it. And I was like, I needed way more contour a couple weeks ago.
Right.
Oh, that's on. Well, I guess speaking of a few weeks ago, or even a few months ago, or several months ago, I just wanna back up and have you just walk us through the whole process itself.
Yeah.
So, when it came to your surrogacy journey, I guess start as early as you think is the most relevant. Walk us through how you got involved, who you
Yeah.
got involved with, what the last several months have looked like, what it looked like actually giving birth. Like, just take us through the whole thing. We're sat, we're here, we're not going anywhere. So just walk us through it.
So for me, I gave birth to my daughter in 2024. And I knew that I wasn't done. I wanted to have more children. And financially and mentally and physically, I was like, there's no way I could have another kid. And then as I had given birth to her, um, actually in the hospital, at our hospital, there was a surrogate who was actually down the hall. And I had run into her talking to her. And so she told me about, like, she's like, oh, yeah, I'm a surrogate. And I was like, that is so cool. I didn't know that we could even do that here because in our area, we have very limited resources for healthcare in general. So she told me, she's like, yeah, you can go online and you can find an agency and they book you. She told me hers, which was somewhere out of Utah. And so I started going online and looking and seeing what the requirements were. And just like with anything, this is a job, so there's a bunch of requirements, especially because your health matters the most. So you have to be in a certain age range, a weight range, height range, background checks, extensive background checks. Your partner, your own partner has to be drug tested and tested for diseases, and so do you. And so there's a lengthy process. I ended up getting in with a matching service called Circle Love, and they
Okay.
matched me with my surrogacy company, which is New Gen. New Gen then took me in and we went through all of my medical stuff. So you had to go give releases for every hospital and every OB you'd ever been to. So which would have been all four of my kids. And they had to
Hmm.
go through everything and they go through it with a fine tooth comb. You have to admit if you were ever on substances, tobacco, alcohol, how often does your partner smoke? How often do you smoke? How often does your partner drink? Do they have any convictions? Do they have any speeding tickets? Everything gets put under a
Wow.
microscope. There was, they ask, have you been on antidepressants? Have you been on anti-anxiety? When's the last time? You have to be 100% honest, obviously, because they're going to read it. Um,
Mm,
we had a small
yeah.
hiccup with mine because I ended up having a hard time sleeping when I was pregnant with Charlie, and the doctor prescribed me an
Hmm.
anti-anxiety when I didn't know. It was just to me, it was something to help me sleep. So we had to go through that
Hmm.
hiccup, but thankfully in the notes, obviously it said patient's complaint, exhaustion, and not being able to sleep. Um, I was working at the
Hmm.
hospital at the time, 12-hour shifts. I had a toddler at home, pregnancy, and anybody knows one of the common things for pregnancy is insomnia. So, little
Yeah.
hiccup, got through it, everything was fine. So then you get medically cleared. So then you have to be sent to your intended parents' fertility center for them to give you a health check. So basically, they're going to go in and they're going to weigh you. They're going to get all your vitals, and then they're going to balloon up your uterus with some saline and check to make sure there's no scarring and no nothing. That way, a egg can safely be implanted. They did, and this is all within like a day. So the surrogacy company,
Whoa.
or the intended parents, I should say, paid for my flights. They paid for my Uber. They paid for my food for there. They gave me a little expenditure account, and then I go get it checked up. Literally got this procedure done, and then had to hop on a plane back home. Came home that day, everything was good. So then you get your second round of medical clearance. Then you go through the legal. So that is then you go through contracts, what you're okay with, what you're not okay with, what stipulations do you
Hmm.
want. So all of that takes a lot of some long time. I started my journey looking for a company back in February. I signed contract in November of that
Jeez.
same year. So it's a lengthy process, but it's got sped up because when you get with your surrogacy company, you get a couple of different people. Sure, first you'll get your intake person, then you'll get your matching person. And my person was Amanda, and she was amazing. She had already had my intended parents lined up. She's like, I love you, I love them, I think you're great. And so we met. We get a little pamphlet of each other. And when you fill out everything for your surrogacy, you send pictures of your family, you send pictures of your kids and like what you guys all like to do. And then it's this little pamphlet that they give to the parents, and you get one of them. And I had always said I wanted two gay dads from Australia. I was like, that would be like my dream to do for my first time. And she found me. She's like, perfect, because here's these two gay dads from Australia who need a surrogate. And we got on a Zoom call together with our matcher, and we talked for a little bit, maybe like 15-20 minutes. And then at the end of it, you have to send your matching coordinator a yes or a no. Like, yes, I want to be with them, or no, I don't.
Mm,
And so
okay.
like it's a lot of it's an interview. It's very similar to, like, I would say what I interviewed when I did daycare. Like,
Hmm.
what do you guys do in your home? Like, what do you guys like? Who are you? Like, why should I give you my child and let you take care of them? So it was very interesting the first time. They were great. I fell in love with them. They got to meet Jacob the first time too. And that's then we went ahead with it. We did the medical clearance, and then we did the legal. They pay for me to have a lawyer and me to go over it with a lawyer, and they had their own. And then they handled the writing of everything. We just agreed and signed. Um,
Hmm.
so then and then you get your first bonus, which was, I think, about $5,000 was the first bonus, to pass the legal. And that's on top of like what they give you for your base. So that gets done, and then you start the the medication. So there's a couple different ways they do it. Sometimes you can just take the birth control pill, and then you get off, and then you start doing estrogen tablets and the shots. Sometimes it's a patch, and then sometimes what they did with me was our natural cycle. So they didn't pump me full of anything. They just let my body get ready on its own. And then they flew me and my husband out to San Diego for 3 days. So you fly out for a day
Yeah.
before, that way you're rested. You go in for your procedure, and then they put the embryo inside, and then you're on bed rest for 24 hours. So then you leave the next day. So
Okay.
we did that twice. I did it back in April, end of April, beginning of May. That one did not stick. We scrapped the cycle, did everything again, and every 2 to 3 days, I was having to go to the hospital, and they would have to check the lining of my uterus to make sure I was getting ready. And then finally, like, you have to get the thickening and everything. It's all way more complicated than it is when you just do it by yourself.
Sure.
I learned a lot more about my body than I think I cared to know.
Mm.
Especially since how ungratefully easy it is for me to get pregnant. I definitely feel bad, like how I didn't know um how much it went into it. And
Hmm.
the nice thing is every time I go in for a medical procedure, they used my insurance, and then it built up on the deductible. So then by a certain time, they didn't have to pay anymore. And then when the baby was born again this year, the deductible hit, and so they didn't have to pay very much anymore either way. Um,
Sweet.
so, but every time they do get billed. So all the costs
Mm.
go through your insurance, and then they take care of the rest. So it's completely free to you. That's another thing that I like to say, that this is totally 100% free. Then you go in, and I got my second embryo done, and my kids nicknamed the embryos Bingo and Bluey. And so Bingo
Okay.
stuck because the parents were
Nice.
from Australia, and
Of
we
course. Of
went on our
course.
we went on our journey with Bingo, and it was we got it like, I got the implantation on June 4th, and I think by like June 8th, I was already popping up with pregnancy test positives. And then so that was a really great sign, at home test. We go in and we do a beta test, and it was like up in the high hundreds, like almost thousands. And then we did the second test, and that was in like the 8,000s. And then we waited the 8 weeks, went in, and we saw his beautiful little heartbeat. And then you get paid your base starting that month following the heartbeat. So
Okay.
for me, that was
Uh-huh.
August. Um, and I was due February 20th with bingo. And a lot of it is just your normal, like you're just after the initial to get pregnant, everything else is your normal pregnancy. You do your normal check-ins once a month and then you go to your two. It's the same tests. There's nothing new that you have to do. It's the same shots, antibiotic stuff. It's baseline if you ever been pregnant, it's the same thing. It's nothing crazy. Then we get towards the end, and now we gotta talk about birth plan and who's in the room and how are things gonna play out. Um,
Right.
and I feel like with me, I had already had 4 kids. I've never
Mhm.
turned down, like, a nursing student or a doctor, a pre-med coming in, so for them to be in the room, I was like, "You 100% need to be in the room." Like, that has to be a thing, you have to watch the baby be born. I will stick with that from here on ever. If you get to see
Okay.
your child born, it's amazing. And, so we all crammed in a room together, and, there was some crazy times at 35 weeks. I went from a 1 centimeter dilated to a 3, and I got life flighted to Reno, because we don't have a NICU here. So that was, I think, the
Oh,
kind of
right.
biggest hiccup, you know, um, here, which was scary. They flew me out, everything was fine, my body stopped, and so I got to come home. And then, we waited for my induction day, and we went in on my induction day, and it started out smooth, and then, when you get that Pitocin, it kills you. But the guys got to see what an epidural is and how that's administered, and they got to see like how a woman gets checked to see if she's dilated because they thought you just look in and see. And I was like, nope, they
Right.
gotta like force you with a hand and just. So they got to see
Oh my
everything.
gosh.
And I had Dr. Roberson, who I love. I can't say
Yeah.
enough good things about that man. And so I had one dad on one leg, I had my husband on the other leg, and then the one of the dads got to actually deliver bingo. Um, and it was
Okay, okay.
amazing. Yeah, it was amazing. And so then, they're cleaning me up and everything is, they're checking on the baby and my husband's with me because we don't have to check on a baby. So that part post delivery is what's wildly different. That's where things are just like, oh, it's either really, really great, and I've heard it be really, really sucky for some, but for me, it was really great. My husband got to stay with me the whole time. Um, and then because you kind of agree on breast milk or formula prior, you kind of know if you're going into it. So I got to get sushi right as soon as the baby was born. I got to eat. The dads and my husband went and brought margaritas into the post-delivery
Oh,
room,
yeah.
and it was great. Not something you get to do when you are the mom and you're having to breastfeed. Like, they're like, "You
Right.
can't have it." No. So that was cool. That was fun. Um, and
Nice.
then, so if many people, obviously, if they're single parents, are watching it, they know when you deliver your baby, you get woke up every 2 hours to be feeding that baby, changing that baby, and you gotta have that sheet. You don't do that. You get to sleep soundly through the
Wow.
night. You maybe have a nurse or two who comes in and checks on you just to make sure you're okay, but
Yeah.
other than that, you get to sleep. And I will tell you, if you ever can hire a nurse or a nanny, that first night post birth, best sleep I have ever gotten. Best sleep. Best sleep. You get to leave the next day. You don't have to worry
Yeah.
about nothing. You go home. You go home. That's when also it kind of gets a little rocky because hormonally you're just like, where's the baby? Where's the baby? But after
Oh,
about
yeah,
two,
yeah.
day two, day three, that kind of like died off. And then I started becoming myself again and everything started feeling normal again and everything started to adjust. And you take care of yourself like normal, but it definitely the sleep after, I didn't realize how sleep deprived I actually was with my 4 kids when then I did this and I'm like, this was amazing. Like, I feel like I won a marathon. I lost all this weight. like, I'm sleeping in my bed, like, everything's fine, and you get sound sleep. It's
Mhm.
definitely needed, and I think that we don't do enough for moms who go through that. So that definitely did wake me up a little bit of how much more we need to help moms post birth, how important it is to have a village, and how lucky I was to have a good support system with my kids.
The whole experience, like, sounds wild and crazy. I have 2 questions that I
Yeah.
came up with. One, you said that an already, like, fertilized egg, the embryo is put into your uterus? So,
Yeah.
like, if it's not your DNA at all and it was 2 dads, where do they get the egg from?
So a lot of that they'll do the egg donor. And I actually got to see
Okay.
their egg donor, and I got to see her profile, and I got to see what she looked like. Very beautiful girl. So it's and I think when I was looking at it, a lot of it reminded me of like Tinder. Like when you get the profile, you get a bunch of these beautiful pictures, the best ones. And
Yes!
then like
Okay,
synopsis
wait.
about themselves. Like it's very and it's a
Okay.
booklet. Like they get to literally flip through a booklet. Like I was like, "That's crazy to me," and, like, you can pick brains, you can pick beauty, you can pick height, like, there's so many things, like, you can go into and, like, find, and just create your perfect donor and find your perfect donor. Um,
Yeah.
so it was I don't think they ever got to meet their donor. I don't know if they ever got to talk to her because I know it's a lot different, but, yeah, no, yeah, it was really fun to get to see that because I don't think I mean, how many people can actually say, "Yeah, I gave birth to another woman and another guy's child?" Like, it's
Right. Yeah.
crazy.
True.
I know that it's, like, so cool. All I can really think of is, have you seen the movie Baby Mama?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so, like,
Yeah.
the whole time, that's all I could think about is because you were saying it's like Tinder and, like, swiping through, and I remember with the soon to be mom, like, the doctor was like, "I just don't like your uterus." So, like, she herself couldn't carry the baby, and so she looked through all these men because she wasn't with a man. She looked through all of their profiles to, like, see which one she wanted, and then she was gonna have, the surrogate hold her baby. And so you mentioned that it's like a job. Like you're basically like these are your like bosses and you're the employee and whatever. So I'm thinking about how in the movie Baby Mama, for those of you who have seen the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't seen the movie Baby Mama, one, get your shit together because it's one of the greatest movies out there. It's freaking hilarious. Um, I'm thinking about the s I think it would be called like a surrogate, like the person who holds the baby, you are the surrogate, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the surrogate that she hired was not, the best employee because like her house was really, really dirty, she wasn't, like, eating healthy. I think she she even was, like, smoking and stuff, and her
Yeah.
husband was, like, the same way, drinking, smoking, all of that stuff, like, he was a total wackadoodle. But when you think about yourself and like your journey through it, how do you make sure that you're like the best possible employee for your bosses, I guess you could say, like, because you like it's your uterus, like you are the home to this baby as it's growing. So how do you make sure that you are like the best possible home for somebody else's baby?
So that's a really good comparison because I totally have forgot about that movie and wow, that really did. I should have probably watched that with my husband while I was pregnant. That would have been funny. But
Yeah.
Mhm.
why? So when you're going through the contract, like I said, when you go through the legal part, you're talking about everything. Do you want this surrogate to be eating only organic? What kind of things on top of what has already the CDC has already deemed unsafe and what is safe for pregnancy? So a lot of it is following those guidelines to a T. And so for my parents, they had already said like, "You have 4 kids. We trust you. Like, you know what you're doing. Your kids are all healthy. You go, we trust you." And that felt really good. On top of it too, though, in our contract, it's like follow your doctor's recommendations, ask your doctor. I even had to talk to my doctor about like my perfumes and my hair shampoos and my laundry detergent, everything that I might come in contact with. I have to run by Roberson and be like, hey, is this okay? And then like you go through like, hey, you can't be like we have chickens. You can't be going in your chicken coop because of this, and that, or you're not supposed to be cleaning the litter box because of this, that. So you have to follow the normal, but on top of it, you're a lot more cautious because this isn't your child. Like you like when prior to everything too on you have to go through psychological evaluations before you can even be a surrogate as well. So they need to make sure you fully understand what you're doing, what you're giving up, and what you're going to put yourself through. And I always made it like, this isn't my child, but this is my child to take care of right now. And I'm going to make sure that when I deliver him to his parents, he's perfect. No ifs, ands, or buts. And so you just make, because you can't have deli meat like normally in pregnancy, even if you're own. So I had to abstain from that. And I had to, it
Mhm,
sucked, but I'm getting paid to take care of a child. I'm going to do my
mhm,
best. I have to, if I can avoid it, I'm going to. And that's just kind of the mentality that I had with it is I just have to follow the rules. Just like when you're at work, you can't be on your phone during certain part. Anthony, the company we used to work for or that I used to work for was
yep,
very strict when it came
mhm,
to,
oh, yeah,
everything. So you just have to make those conscious decisions. And then if like I used to have hankerings for sushi, raw fish too, in particular, I had to suck it up and eat, fried. It sucked, but you just have to force yourself to kind of break out of the habits. Because with my own kids, I was eating deli meat. I was eating raw sushi. I had more caffeine than I was regularly allowed to. I'm not gonna lie. But those are my kids.
Yeah.
I didn't pay for it, and
right,
like, I'm the only one that I have to, answer to. I have to answer to a whole legal board and the parents and the surrogacy company. So you kind of get a little bit more about, oh, I'm being not watched, but watched.
Yeah.
Not
No,
they're not
right.
like breathing down your neck, but you're accountable to other people. So that's where it kind of gets a little easier when you're held accountable. Um,
Yeah.
and
I
so
Anthony, I'm sorry. I keep asking questions, but I
no,
like
go
keep
for it.
thinking of more things. This
No,
is like
it's all you.
a really simple, easy question, and then you could just like you can ask a question, like it could be your turn. But I'm curious, like, so like on the contraire, like you're not supposed to have like sushi, deli meat, like above what 200 milligrams of like caffeine, something like that. Like
yeah,
I did
yeah,
all of those things when I was pregnant, but I'm like thinking like technically you're still allowed to like eat McDonald's and stuff, but like was that something that was in your contract? Like if you were to be like, oh my god, I'm freaking craving McDonald's, I need some French fries right now. Like, did you do it and did you feel guilty? Or were you not allowed to?
So no, there was never like anything about like fast food, but it definitely agreements of having a balanced diet was obviously agreed upon and everything. But no, if I wanted to go have McDonald's, I could have done it. If I wanted to eat McDonald's every day, I could have done it. I definitely do believe there are parents who probably put in their contracts that we would like you to minimize this and this. I'm sure there is. There's health conscious people who do this, so I'm sure that it happens. Thankfully, not mine. Um, I probably would have probably had a harder time being told I couldn't go get like French fries from McDonald's just because they're the best. But I'm also one of those people of, you can't have it, now I want it more mentality. Got it from my mom, for sure. But yeah, no, that thankfully not in our contract. But there were times where if I'm like pegging out on like ice cream and chocolate cake because I was craving chocolate cake, I did get a little guilty. And then I would overcorrect by then, you know, downing a bunch of
Yeah.
fucking smoothies, and then I would go on walks, and I was making sure that I was healthy, and like I'm good about my weight anyways. I think the whole pregnancy I gained less than 23 pounds, and the average is 30.
Okay.
So I think I stayed well
Hmm.
because I'm very body conscious. I was trying to make sure that, I was limiting my intake to certain foods and having a higher intake on my vegetables and my proteins. And then everything with the government, when they switched the food pyramid around, I got butter on top, and I'm over here like, "I'm so confused. I don't know what I'm doing now." But I stayed on a scale. I stayed, made sure that I was drinking my water. More, I think for myself personally, because I'm so body conscious and very like I have a very hard perspective of myself. It was easier to kind of stay with the food restrictions that I would give myself and to make sure that I was eating properly.
Wow.
But there were
Queen.
definitely times I was like, I ordered Domino's pizza for my kids just so I could order the frickin' chocolate cakes because I was craving them, and they wouldn't just deliver the
Exactly.
cake.
Exactly.
So my kids definitely got
Balance. Balance.
yeah. So, but yeah, no, there was definitely times where I picked out, and I think a lot of it too is you burn so many calories when you're pregnant that I was gonna burn it off by the next night just sitting up, huffing and puffing, sitting up, you know? So as long as I was drinking my water, I
Okay.
kinda justified my head.
I literally gained 70 pounds when I was pregnant. 70 pounds I gained. But afterwards I lost all the weight. Like I literally went back to my normal weight because like I'm super athletic, so I was going to the gym a lot. I was staying super active, like dancing and stuff, and I lost all the weight. So, and I know like the average is like, 20 to 30 pounds. And I'm like, if I was a surrogate, they would probably be so freaking mad at me because I gained so much weight. But I also know that I could just lose it all. Like I feel like that's just what my body does. It's not like I'm eating shitty all the time, but like
Yeah.
I gained so much weight. And I'm so sorry, Anthony. I just like can't stop talking about this. But
No,
No,
I'll
this is
it's
I'll
good.
I'll
This is
pass it to
good.
you, buddy.
No, I enjoy learning about all this. I have a sure different perspective on the whole pregnancy thing compared to the two of you because you guys can like literally relate to that. But one thing I do know a good amount about is emotions. I'm a very emotionally driven guy, so I kind of want to go back to something you touched on a little bit as you were sharing your story, and that is the the post delivery time. So I'm just thinking through, and I'm putting maybe even listeners of the show who have thought about something like this, or even I'm thinking, I don't know if it's how comparable it is, but like foster care or something like that where you're just so emotionally attached to something that's a part of you in your case Kaylee like literally a part of your body for 9 months and then you see the beautiful baby come and then you hand them over to their parents and then in this case literally going across the world so I imagine some people would think about that part of it and be like
Yeah.
that sounds tough like emotionally that mentally that sounds really tough being so attached to a human and then just having to say, okay, well, bye, have a good life. So, can you talk and elaborate a little bit more on that reality? I know you said it
Yeah.
took you a couple of days to work through that, but a little bit about what that looks like essentially having
Yeah.
to say goodbye to something or somebody rather that was a part of your life for that many months.
Um, I definitely got attached to Bingo. 100%. I carried him, you know? I think you would be a real heartless and very psychopathic if you were like, didn't care. Just boom. Like that was wild.
Right.
That'd be wild to me. It was very when I was pushing and I was delivering him, his dad was right here, his dad Dan. And I looked over at his dad and I just tears in his eyes. And it in that moment, seeing how happy he was and seeing his other dad Matt holding him for the first time, something in me, it was just magic all around. It was just wow. Anything I could have felt for myself, all that selfishness that we all inherently have, gone. Because all it looked was they just the first words out of Dan's mouth when Oscar was born, their son, was thank you. Just thank you. With tears and so much happiness and so much love in his eyes. And Matt getting teary eyed and like holding him and just being so proud that he caught him and he delivered him. And they had my husband cut the cord uh,
Cool.
for them. And it was so that Jake could be a part of it. And when I looked at them, nothing of when I looked at the baby when he was born, I didn't see myself, I didn't see my husband, so there was no, like, "You're mine." It was more of, like, how I see, like,
Okay.
nieces when they come over and I love on them and "I want you to go." It was more of a, I love you. I did this out of love, and now you're going to where you need to be. And I had to have those talks with myself. And then I'm a very big advocate of like therapy. I'm in it myself, and I even talked to the therapist. Like I did my check-ins with her. Like, yeah, no, I'm definitely gonna miss this feeling. I'm gonna miss being close with him and us being a little team together. But I'm so excited that he's going to live the next 50, 60, 70, 80 years with his parents, and he's gonna go, enjoy life. And I still get to see him grow up. His parents and I and my husband are all still, we communicate. I'll get to see him often. They've even invited us to go overseas and go see them. And, but those first 3 days when I was definitely had like a postpartum wave. It wasn't
Mhm.
more of, and this is just for myself. It wasn't a wave of missing that baby. It was just that missing a baby. That because
Interesting.
I had already had 4 prior, so my body knew what to
Mhm.
do. Grab a baby, feed a baby, change a baby, hold a baby. So my
Mhm.
body had to relearn, and my mind and my hormones had to relearn, "Nope, we don't need to do that. That's okay. You're gonna lay down, you're gonna relax." I that was I think for me, that was what was hard about it. It was just I felt like I wasn't doing something I should have been, that I've always done once having this. And uh, you know, when you have a baby, you don't think about anything else except keeping that baby alive. And for women, it's a lot of hormones and like nature, like just telling you how to do it. You don't feel anything else. After I had Oscar, I felt every ache, every pain, every time my uterus shrank, my hips shrinking. I felt every soreness from pushing. I felt all of it. Um, and I didn't feel those pains prior. So that was also on top of feeling, the hormones deplete out of my body, feeling that pain that I don't remember ever feeling before with my own
Mm.
kids.
Wow.
So right around day 3, because I gave birth to him on a Thursday, so right about Sunday, that
Okay.
Sunday night, I started feeling more stable and like, "Oh, okay, I'm doing good. Like, I'm okay. Things are great." Monday, I woke up with all this energy. Everything was great. I started feeling like myself again. Um, but definitely was hard. Like, and I kept trying to tell people, I don't miss that baby. Like, I'm not
Mhm.
crying for that baby. I'm crying for a baby. I'm looking at my kids when they were babies, and I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
want my baby. I want to hold my baby.
Mhm.
Um, and so for me, it made me realize how, one, thankful I am that I am a mom,
Mhm.
and two, it made me, I think, appreciate having my kids a little bit more, and
Yeah.
thankful how, you know, just being a woman and being able to do that and, go through that. And then I got to see Oscar off and on through the whole month that he was here with his dad's and his older sister and his grandmother. Um,
Mm.
And, so I got to, meet everybody. I got to meet some other family on FaceTime while I was still in the labor bed. So it was really nice that I got to meet everybody or most of the people I should say that he's gonna go meet and grow up with. And they were all just as wonderful and kind as, his dads. And I can see why his dads are as amazing they are. Um, and it just how can you ever feel sad about a kid going to go live in an amazing life? That was the mentality for me. Is he's gonna go overseas and he's gonna live in Hong Kong and he's gonna travel with his dad and he's gonna go see places that I haven't even gotten seen yet. And
Right.
he has
Hmm.
so much love. Like he has two parents that are gonna love him and do anything and everything because they already have. They've already done anything and everything to have him. And now, they get to go live with him and give him the best life. And that
Yeah.
that you have to remind yourself of that, um, when you're doing this. Otherwise, I think it would be really easy to get sucked into, really bad postpartum. But so it definitely you have to be strong mentally for yourself, um, to combat those feelings, in my experience.
I'm like
Yeah. For
thinking
sure.
about how
Yeah.
much like happens with your body afterwards. Cause like you were saying, like it's like completely different, you know? Cause like I'm thinking about like afterwards, after we give birth, like our uterus starts shrinking, the hormones are changing, and then like
Your hips
your
working.
breast starts like developing like milk and stuff. Like now it's
Mhm.
like, okay, now you have a baby to care for. I remember like smelling so bad. Like I could not make my armpits not flim flam and smell. Like no matter how much deodorant I put on, like they just still smelled. And apparently that's a thing for like baby to recognize you and whatnot. And that's why your like areolas get darker and stuff. Education for you,
Mhm.
Anthony. Yes, like the areolas like get darker so like
No idea.
baby can
Huh.
find your boobie and stuff. Like
Okay.
all those things happen. And then like after you give birth, like you start to produce milk because it's like, all right, baby's here. So like I'm thinking about the process of like baby comes out, and normally if there's no issues, like baby goes on top of mom to have like
Yeah.
skin to skin. So what is that process like? I mean, did they put baby on mommy, or like does the bonding automatically just go to the dads? Like how does that work?
So in our situation, dad caught baby and then they instantly took him over to the warming area and cleaned him off and did the measurements and did the shots and did the stuff for the eyes, and weighed him. And then right after that, he went to his dad Dan, and they did skin to skin automatically. They got some really good photos. They spent a good, I can't even remember how long it actually was. But then they gave me baby for the dads did. They're like, "Do you want to hold him?" And I said, "Yeah." So I got to hold him and do skin to skin with him for a little bit. Um, and then, we I think we were starting to move rooms, so I gave baby back and we all went to, our post-care rooms. But yeah, no, initially, yeah, they give it to dad. They give the babies to, mom or dad, whoever, and, in my situation, dads. And then they did skin to skin first. Um, and, a lot of it that is in your contract too. In my contract, the surrogate got at least an hour with the baby. I got way more just because me and Matt and Dan are so close. But at a minimum, you'll get like an hour with the baby, holding the baby with the parents in the room. So the surrogacy companies do take that in consideration, that bonding. And some people opt out of it. Some argue for more. And it's just, I was very lucky in my situation to have, fallen in love with Matt and Dan and them with us, and I got to have that with them. So,
Wow,
uh,
so cool.
that is very different too. Um, yeah, that golden hour that they call it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
very different,
Right.
very different.
Wow.
So,
Cool.
yeah. Mhm.
That's really cool. Yeah, I got to meet the dads briefly at a bar one night when I just was
Yeah,
stumbling
right after.
downtown. They seemed nice. Admittedly, I had maybe a few drinks before I walked through that door, and I was kind of chasing a girl, so I was a little distracted. But they did seem nice. So I guess my last question for you, Kaylee, is going to kind of be for the people listening to this who clicked on it because maybe they're considering stepping into surrogacy, and maybe they want to start either like looking into it, or they have and they're about to start the journey. This is just for the rookies out there. So now that you've been through the whole process, I want you just to give us however many that you have, the big things that you learned or that you had to go through that you just didn't expect, that you're just not going to know until you get into it. Like, you're the expert now. I want you just to give us some of the things that you would tell a person starting at the very beginning just to keep in mind.
Actually, I will say that as somebody who has never had fertility issues, you go through a fertility treatment for that most women do because they can't get pregnant. You get a good smack in the face of the needles and the pain and the procedures, and it's very invasive. So you get a new profound respect for moms who did that to get their own baby. Um, that's a lot of love and dedication, and it is hard. Um, the hormones, the progesterone, the estrogen that you have to inject into yourself because you have to give yourself your own shots for 12 weeks straight every day at the same time. Um, and they're not little needles. They're nice big, thick needles that go right into your backside, and the gel is thick, and so it burns and it hurts. It is not easy, and it is okay to be halfway into this and go, "What did I get myself into?" It sucks. Anytime you're trying to bring life, regardless if you're doing it naturally or through this way or with help, it's hard, and it is okay to go, "Why did I do this? This sucks. This hurts.
Mm.
This is uncomfortable. I hate what it's doing to me." I gained, I think, almost 10 pounds just being on the medication to prepare for the baby. And then, you go through a lot. You go through a lot of up and downs because progesterone and estrogen are not fun hormones to mess with. Um, Time and patience is going to be tested. Your patience will be tested every which way because it feels like every time you move, there's an obstacle. For me, it was getting the timing right, and they were trying to mess with my body, and so my body wasn't responding the way they wanted until it finally took them to go, "We're gonna do natural cycles." I ended up having a really bad allergic reaction to the estrogen patches that they gave me. Actually,
Mm.
Anthony, I think if you remember, it was at my birthday party, and I swelled up and everything.
Yeah,
I ended
I
up having
do
to
remember
call
that night. Yep.
911. Yep, and I had to take the patches off, and I ended up getting drugged with
Mhm.
Benadryl, and it was a whole thing, and I had never known that I was allergic to that for whatever was in those patches. So there was always like an obstacle, and that's so common. It is so, so common to have one or two or three obstacles in your way while doing this, but it doesn't mean that you're failing. It doesn't mean that you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. It's just life. And when you're creating life, always speak up. If you're going to find a agency, do so much research because there are so many bad agencies out there that take advantage of IPs and of surrogates, and there's a lot of support groups on Facebook that do reviews of surrogacy companies and fertility companies that you can go and look at, and you can get what these surrogates are saying and how they were treated and how payments were going or how they felt supported. And the best thing you can do is research. I am thankful that I have New Gen. Definitely thinking of doing another journey in the coming years. Um,
Okay.
but it definitely is you you don't have to say yes to the first one. I would, if I knew what I know now, I would have interviewed with a lot more companies, um, before I had just like said yes. Just only because you never know what kind of different support you're gonna get. You never know how different they do, and maybe you're. I was lucky. New Gen aligned with my values enough that I'm like, great. You always want to find that. And yeah. On top of it too, you have to have a support system. I had I had my grandmothers, I had my aunts, I had you, I had my nieces, I had so many people that were over checking on me or watching my kids or, just helping me with normal stuff that I was truly, truly blessed. That is the biggest thing is make sure you have a good support system because even though you're not gonna be getting ready for this baby, you're gonna get ready for this baby, regardless in one way or another. And it's hard. Um, so yeah, you know, that's my best advice is making sure you are taking care of yourself and you are fighting for yourself and that's it's we need more surrogates. There's not enough. Um, and it's such a hard thing to get into because the smallest thing could probably disqualify you. But I will say, if it disqualifies you at one company, try again at a different one because their fertility clinics are ultimately the ones that okay it. And some fertility clinics are okay with some things where others are not. So it's if you get one door shut, don't think that the window isn't open.
I want to say thank you for coming on because
Oh,
this
thank
was
you.
definitely a topic I was super excited to talk about. Like, obviously, I had a lot of questions and there were lots of things that I had like comments on. And I don't know, I'm just like super curious about
Hey,
how the
if you
whole
ever need
process is.
more,
So,
yeah, if you have any more, you let me know. You just, Anthony has my number. You can always text him to me, and I'm an open book with it. Yeah, no, I love sharing it about it.
yeah, no, it was super awesome to have you on. So, thank you.
Oh, and I
Yeah.
will say
Thank you.
that surrogacy has
Yeah.
a lot of single parents that do surrogacy too. Like, as
Really
inten
interesting.
There's the founder of NewGen. He was a single dad. He went through a company
Okay.
and realized that he wanted to have his own because he wanted a safe place for surrogates. So he created NewGen. So my surrogacy company was created by a single parent. So it is not impossible and it's not unheard of for single parents to
Wow.
go in and be intended parents and have a surrogate.
Wow. So cool.
Cool. That's cool. I didn't know that. Yeah. Shout out to all the single parents out there doing this thing.
Yeah.
That's badass. That's awesome.
See.
And shout out to you, Kaylee. Like I just this like little personal moment, like getting to see like your and Jake's journey through this whole thing. Like you said, I was there when you had that allergic reaction. I was there just during the heat of summer where you just couldn't do anything. And you're awesome. Shout out to Jake, by the way, her awesome husband. Like he's such a great dude. I love that dude because to Kaylee's point earlier, like she just couldn't do a lot of stuff because it's her job to take care of the baby growing. So she
Yeah,
like literally, even if she wanted to, couldn't get up and do XYZ. And Jake was just on it. He was the man. He did what he had to do to take care of his wife. And so, anyways, like I know it means a lot for me and for my girls to be able to have seen you go through that journey, and they really look up to you and they're inspired by the fact that you were able to do something so ambitious like that. So I just want to give you and Jake and all your beautiful kids your props because you guys are the best.
thanks. We love it. And I can't wait to do it again. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, like Jess said, thank you so much for Kaylee for coming and joining the podcast this week. We really love this conversation. But I think that's going to get ready to do it for this episode. So, Jess, anything you have left to throw out there before we get on out of here?
No, nothing left to say.
All right. All right. Well, all right. See you later. No, but everybody, thank you so much for checking out the show. We love you, hot SPs out there. Subscribe, share, do all the things, and then we will be back with another juicy episode next week. Until then, we'll see you guys later. Bye.
Peace
Bye.
and blessings.